Hello everybody, welcome to the House of Commentary. Today we're going to give our reactions to Gareth Southgate's announcement yesterday of the England squad that is going to be going to the Qatar 2020 World Cup. And with me to discuss the announcement is Stats.
Hello everybody.
And we're going to be going through the squad, hopefully have a few insights. And who knows, if you agree with us, please leave a comment. Also, remember to subscribe. Click on that subscribe button. It helps us and it helps us provide a better service to you. So thank you. So, Stats, yesterday, Gareth Southgate, we waited with bated breath for his announcement.
Indeed.
Everybody was hoping their favourite player was going to be included. Obviously, that wasn't the case in some because you can only have 26 players, isn't it? 26.
Yes, indeed.
So, do you want to go through the squad and just
Let's
tell
go.
us? Yeah, let's go through the squad. Who are the goalkeepers?
Goalkeepers: Jordan Pickford, Nick Pope, Aaron Ramsdale, which we all knew.
Yeah, that I think was a done deal. In fact, one of the big questions I think will be that when he does play his first game, which is against Iran, and which I will have a further comment on, will he play Aaron Ramsdale or will he play Jordan Pickford?
My guess is Jordan Pickford because he seems to be the main starter for the goalkeeping.
I think you're right. I think even though Aaron Ramsdale is the goalkeeper at Arsenal, who have had a phenomenal season, in some respects it is a bit of a pity he's not going with the goalkeeper that's actually doing the absolute outstanding best in terms of all the other goalkeepers in the Premiership. But anyway, so that's the goalkeepers. Now we come to the defenders.
Yes, so main question is Harry Maguire.
Well, let's hear who are the people who he chose.
Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, Eric Dyer, John Stones, Kyle Walker, Kieran Trippier, Connor Cody, Ben White, and Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Oh wow! Okay, that's really interesting. We'll talk about Harry Maguire a bit later on. And yes. Who are the midfielders?
Jude Bellingham, Mason Mount, Conor Gallagher, Declan Rice, Jordan Henderson, and Calvin Phillips.
Well, there are a couple of surprises in there as well, so we'll talk about those. And who are the strikers?
James Maddison, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Harry Kane, Bukayo Saka, Raheem Sterling, Callum Wilson, and Marcus Rashford.
Definitely one or two there that I would want to talk about. Okay, so when we actually looked at this announcement yesterday, what was your initial impression?
I was actually quite shocked that Southgate didn't put Ivan Toney in because he's played more matches compared to Rashford.
Yeah, he's actually done very well. Have you got any stats for us regarding the comparison between Rashford and Ivan Toney?
I have. So goals scored, Toney 8, Rashford 4.
Wow. Okay.
And then with the assists, they're both equal on 2.
Oh wow. So actually, Toney has scored more than double the number of goals. Okay, they're equal on assists, but at the end of the day, you're a striker. You want to score goals, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. So it is a bit straight. And also Rashford, I think for the beginning of the season, hardly did anything. He's only scored a couple in the last few games.
Yeah, and talking about Rashford. The only time I've seen Rashford on the pitch is when England were playing the Nations League.
Yeah, he's been he's been almost invisible for most of the season. The last couple of games for United, he did do well, but it's a bit weird, isn't it? It is. I don't know about you, but I think it was really unfortunate that Ivan Toney wasn't given a chance to play in the friendlies.
I agree as well, because I remember we were watching there thinking, why would Southgate pick a player but not even include him in the starting 11?
Yeah, especially somebody who like Toney, who has done so well. I really feel sorry for the guy. I think Brentford will probably be sitting there, the manager at Brentford saying, okay, he's not going, that means he's not going to get injured. So when he comes back, he's going to actually, when the league starts up again, he's going to be in brilliant form. But part of me is wishing the last game of the season before they go is this weekend, and I really hope he scores a lot of goals.
I hope so as well, just to prove Southgate wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a bit of a shocker. The other thing that was good, I suppose, in some respects, was James Maddison got included. James Maddison's had quite a good season, really. Have you got any stats about him, or have you got any idea of how well he's been doing?
Unfortunately, I do not.
Oh, right, you didn't. Well, I'll tell you. He's actually one of the top players when it comes to assists. He scored a fair number of goals, but it's the assists that he's done. He's done a lot of assists for Leicester, even though Leicester are actually at the bottom of the table.
Which is unfortunate because everyone still remembers when they won the Premier League a couple of years ago.
Yeah, in 2016, I think it was.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
But he has been the informed player, so I think that's a good choice. I think Maddison is a good choice. But Calvin Phillips is a bit of a strange one because he's actually been injured for quite a long time, and he's only played one game, I think, this season.
And Southgate thinks he's prepared to go to the World Cup.
Yeah. I have a feeling that he will risk him straight away. It wouldn't surprise me. I think he'll actually risk him straight away. So if he can handle the first game, chances are he can handle all of them. I think he's expecting to beat Iran. So as a result, he thinks it's an easy game. So he'll just put him in there. But it's a bit of a surprise because there are other players that could have been there. But hey ho. Were there any other surprises amongst the forwards and the midfield players from your perspective?
So yeah, Conor Gallagher.
Yeah, I think that was a good choice. But I like Conor Gallagher.
Yeah, especially what he's done for Chelsea this year.
Chelsea's played really well. And last year he had a fantastic season with Crystal Palace. Absolutely phenomenal. In fact, it could be argued that if it wasn't for him, Crystal Palace would have been right at the bottom, near the bottom of the league last season. He was so good.
Yeah, I think in terms of last year as well, it looked like ever since Crystal Palace were the bottom two that were on the brink of relegation.
Yeah, and Conor Gallagher really did. He was fantastic. He helped keep them up. There's no doubt about that. And I think Crystal Palace would have loved to have kept him. But he's done well at Chelsea. I mean, I remember him getting sent off, and it was a bit of a silly sort of error on his side. But other than that, he has been quite productive, I think. Looking at some of these other players, I mean, they're all obvious, aren't they? Really, Phil Foden, he's fantastic.
Oh yeah, the hat trick against Man United, I think it was.
I mean, he's just fantastic. Jack Grealish, fantastic. Harry Kane, obviously, he's going to be the captain. What's interesting is that I don't know if you saw the news that Conte, the Spurs manager, was saying that Harry Kane
is being fatigued.
Yeah,
I saw
fatigued.
that.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and days before the World Cup, you start to think: is he going to be fit enough, or is the physical
the physical effort going to be too much for him? That's really interesting, isn't it? That just before the World Cup, he's saying the guy's mega tired. So maybe as part of the preparation for the World Cup, maybe they won't actually train so hard with Harry Kane. That's one of the things they might do. They might decide to take it a bit easy. And maybe that's what Conte meant. Saka from Arsenal he's had a very good season. Raheem Sterling's an interesting one because he moved from Man City to Chelsea at the beginning of the season.
He did.
And at Man City, his stats were amazing.
World class, in my opinion.
Yeah, world class without a shadow of a doubt. And he had a good start to the season with Chelsea. But he seems to have gone off the boil recently. He hasn't scored any goals.
No, and on top of that, I haven't seen Raheem Sterling at all play in the last few matches.
Yeah, he hasn't really made an impact. It's really been strange. It's been strange. But having said that, Chelsea have had a bit of a strange period the last few weeks because they did really well. Didn't lose at the beginning of the season. They were losing games. And then obviously they changed the manager. Who was the manager again?
So the previous manager was Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah.
Which was a shock because I did not expect them to sack Tuchel like that.
Yeah, that was
especially what he's done for the club.
Yeah. He's had an amazing 2 seasons. So they got rid of him. They brought in Potter from Brighton. He stabilised everything. All of a sudden they stopped letting goals in and they started to do well in the Champions League as well, and they've done well there. But the last couple of games, they've kind of gone off the boil. And it does make you wonder. You would think that as you're getting nearer to the World Cup, the players wanting to get into the actual World Cup squad would up their game. And Chelsea have got quite a few players, haven't they? They've got Mount, they've got Sterling, Conor Gallagher. So that's, you would think that with those three there, they'd actually be really pushing to make sure their performance was high, and they'd be showing it when they're playing against all the other teams in the Premiership.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen that. The other, so Saka's been brilliant. Sterling, bit of a strange one. Callum Wilson from Newcastle. And that was interesting because he wasn't expected to get in.
Yeah.
And he did.
And I remember watching the build-up. They were saying he wasn't in the squad.
Yeah.
And then at 2:00, it was announced that he was in.
Yeah. He's had a very good season. Newcastle have been amazing.
Yeah, and they're currently third in the table.
Third, wow! They've really sort of done so well. And he scored goals as well. The main thing, he scored and he's assisted, which is good. And then there's Marcus Rashford, which we just discussed. I personally think Tony should have gone. What do you think?
I agree as well that I would have definitely put Tony above Rashford in the.
Is there a reason why you think it's just because he scores more goals?
Well, not only that, but also you need a player that can just be there when the goals are needed, and Tony's that player.
Yeah, he does actually. Brentford aren't as good as Manchester United, so in that environment, it's a tougher environment, and one could argue he should have been given a chance because he's unlike all the other players there. So he's an oddball. They're willing to go with Maddison because he's an oddball. They should have gone maybe with Tony because he's an oddball. But the other thing about Rashford that I don't like is that he's only started to suddenly perform in the last couple of games. The whole season he's been sort of invisible, and now all of a sudden,
then getting into World Cup, he's like, it's like Aaron Ted Cards puts him in.
Yeah, I think sometimes Southgate has this habit of there's this impression that he's almost frightened to not take players, and I think that Marcus Rashford is one of those players. He's frightened of not choosing him. Looking at the midfield players, you've got Jude Bellingham, Mason Mount, Conor Gallagher, Declan Rice, and Jordan Henderson and Calvin Phillips. Phillips, obviously, we talked about. He's just come back from injury. You could argue that maybe because it's 26 players, he's allowed to take 3 extra players. Normally it's 23, so maybe Southgate's right to take some players who are injured or have just coming back from injury in the hope that they'll be fit enough when they're needed. But I think that midfield is what you'd expect.
Yes.
Yeah. And Henderson being there, I think that's a good thing because you do need somebody who's a captain in the midfield for his own club, but also who's got a lot of experience, and he's got a lot of experience.
Definitely.
I think Declan Rice is the best player out of the bunch there, though.
I agree as well.
Yeah. And then we come with the defenders. The main
name that stands out to me is Harry Maguire.
What is he doing there? It's unbelievable, isn't it? So, give us some stats about Harry Maguire. How about we compare him with Conor Cody? Because Conor Cody, not many people really think of him as being the England centre-back. So, but he's in the squad, which is great. He's had a really good season at Everton. But I think it'd be really interesting to compare Conor Cody's stats with Harry Maguire's.
So the first thing that stands to me is the appearances.
Right.
So Conor Cody has 13.
13 games.
And Maguire's only had 4 appearances this season.
Oh my God. So basically,
so there's a lot already.
He's only been sitting on the bench, basically, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's only been a substitute, which is really weird because one of the things that Southgate went to great lengths in stating before the World Cup was that he was only going to take players who were in form. So how can you be in form if you can't even get into your own team or onto the field of play? So what other things are there that stand out?
So there's the tackles.
Okay.
Conor Cody has 8, Maguire only 2.
2. So out of 4 games, he's only done 2 tackles in 4 games.
Yeah.
That sounds like a player who's hardly getting into the game.
And Southgate puts him in the squad.
Yeah, I know. It is quite incredible. And the other thing is Conor Cody is also, because he used to be captain of Wolverhampton, he is a very, very good captain. Wolverhampton, now that Conor Cody's gone, what's happened to Wolverhampton? They're down at the bottom of the Premiership. Yeah. Whereas before they're in the top 7, top 8.
Top 10, yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. So that's really interesting. Now, Luke Shaw, I think he was a given who was going to be in there because he did do well in the Euros as well, didn't he? So Luke Shaw did well. I think we all knew Eric Dyer from Spurs was going to be included.
Kyle Walker was going to be included as well.
Yeah, now that's Kyle Walker's interesting because he's
injured currently.
He's currently coming away from sorting his injury out. And there's one big name missing, and that's Reece James.
Yes, who unfortunately picked up an injury just before the World Cup.
Yeah, but he also sent out a tweet saying that he should have been given time, included in the squad, because he reckons he's going to be ready he could have been ready by the second or third game, which is a bit naughty, really, if you think about it.
It was a bit. I would say it was a bit cheeky of him.
It was. I think it was very cheeky. Actually, I think you're right. But he was desperate to get into the squad, wasn't it? Because his sister was actually in the England squad for the Euros.
Yes, she was.
Yeah, and she's got a gold medal. He's going to be thinking, God, she's got a gold medal, and
when
I
am I going to get mine?
Yeah, exactly. And the other good one, which I thought was a good choice, was Ben White from Arsenal. So Ben White has had a fantastic season. I mean, the Arsenal team has had a fantastic season.
I think it's probably the best season so far compared to last year.
Oh, well, for quite a long time, yeah. Over the last few years, it's been a phenomenal beginning to the season. But the other one that's really interesting, I think, is also Alexander-Arnold.
Yes, who was also injured.
Yeah, he was injured before. He's come back, and he wasn't included in the Euros because of the injury, I think. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what was really interesting was that, and I don't know if you remember, but during the Euros, or prior to him getting injured, there was a lot being said that should he be in the squad because he's not a good defender, but he's a brilliant attacker. Yeah, he's very good at taking free kicks. He's very good at attacking down the wing, and a lot of people saying no, he's not good enough because he can't defend. And this season, Liverpool have been doing really badly,
which is a shocker because they were contenders last year to win the whole thing.
Yeah. In fact, I think is it right? They were contending almost 4 trophies, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, the quadruple.
Yeah, wow, they could have got the quadruple. So this season they haven't been doing well, and when you look at the games, Trent Alexander has made a lot of mistakes in defence.
He has.
Yeah. So it is, and I think even in some of the games he's been kind of, I think either dropped or just not included in the squad. And they've had Joe Gomez go in, and Joe Gomez has been really good, apart from his most stupid error against I forget who is it, Newcastle or whatever, where he basically did the back pass without looking.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And he just went this total stupidity. I think that was against Brighton. Sorry, I think it was against Brighton. But that is just shows that they can. Oh, it was Man City, wasn't it? It was Man City. I forget who it was. I forget who it was, but it's a really stupid back pass. People remember that, but they don't remember the fact that he's been playing really well. Really, really well. Yeah. And you think, okay, maybe if you want, you're going to be up against teams who are going to be attacking you left, right and centre. Don't you want to have somebody who's going to be a really good defender? It's one thing to have a good attacker, but they've brought Maddison in. He's supposed to bring that additional threat in the midfield.
Yes.
So isn't that going to be enough? So it is a bit weird. It is a bit weird. So the squads. Is there anything you wanted to sort of bring up?
So while looking at the squad, most of the players in there actually were in the Euro squad last year. Yeah,
so they've got good experience. Experience. So hopefully they'll take the experience, learn from it, and if they're given a chance, they'll actually play well. I think one of the problems in the Euros last year, I don't know if you remember, but Southgate was very reluctant to make any substitutions.
He was. It was always like with 20 minutes or 15 minutes to go that he would make the substitutions.
Yeah, and even then it would just be one substitution. He'd wait almost until the end of the game. I don't know if you remember in the final when literally he couldn't get 3 of his players on because he was waiting so late.
God,
and then it was right at the end of the extra time that he finally managed to get the players on, like Rashford and Jadon Sancho. Now, do you think he should have been? Is he right to leave out Sancho? Do you think?
I think so because I haven't really seen Sancho much this season.
Yeah, he has. He's been invisible, hasn't he? He's played a few. He's played in quite a lot of games, but it's almost as though he's not making any impact. I remember seeing him score 1 goal, but then he's not really making impact. But having said that, United aren't exactly, lighting the world up, are they?
Nope.
I mean, they lost to Aston Villa, and Aston Villa sacked their manager, Gerrard, because they weren't playing well enough. And the next thing you know, they lose 3-1 to him. And even that one goal was an own goal by Aston Villa. So it is a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to actually see what happens. Well, later on this week, maybe we'll go through the other squads because they've all been nominated now, haven't they?
And I don't know if you heard, but there was a big surprise today.
What was that?
That Senegal announced Sadio Mane was in the squad.
Really? Isn't he injured?
He is injured currently after a match in Bayern Munich.
All right, so we're going to have to talk about that as well. So that's going to be really interesting. And then obviously as the World Cup progresses, we'll have to do a few more commentaries and stats. You're going to come up with some new stats for us, yes?
I will.
Excellent. Okay. And just to finish off, I know we're talking about the World Cup, but obviously there's another big sport happening over the weekend, which is F1.
Yes. For a second, I thought you could say the ICC with the
T20
the ICC
World Cup Final. Oh my God. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Oh my God, you've got so many stats in your head. Yeah, we'll talk about these two things very, very quickly. Let's talk about the World Cup in Australia, the T20 cricket. Who is the final between?
So the final is between Pakistan and England.
And how did Pakistan? Who did they have to beat to get to the?
So Pakistan will beat New Zealand.
All right.
And then obviously yesterday England absolutely battered India 10 wickets.
They won by 10 wickets. Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable. And it was very strange in that India were fantastic throughout the whole series. They were really on top game.
And then all of a sudden, come to semi-finals, they just couldn't get. It was like they got the runs, but they just couldn't get the wickets.
Yeah. They just couldn't get the two batsmen out. And England were fantastic. And not only did they win by 10 wickets, they actually won with 4 overs to spare, which is unbelievable. So so we're going to be looking forward to that on Sunday, isn't it?
Yes.
That's on Sunday. In fact, they've made a new rule change because they think it might rain. So they've introduced a reserve day for Monday. So they're going to try to make sure there's a result because they don't want it just to be a draw.
Yeah, because if it was a draw, I reckon nobody wants to draw between the two. So.
Yeah, nobody wants to draw. And what's the other big events happening over there?
So this weekend, there also happens to be the F1 Grand Prix in Brazil. Okay. And it's actually a sprint race to this weekend.
Really, a sprint race? Can you can you tell the listeners what the sprint race is?
So with the sprint races, so normally in F1 there's the qualifying which determines the grid for Sunday. But this week, the qualifying actually determines where you're going to start in the sprint. And then the sprint is going to determine where you start in the race itself.
All right. So it's like an additional race on the Saturday.
26-lap race around the track.
26 laps?
Yeah, no, it's
really long.
It is long indeed.
Yeah, wow. And that's incredible, isn't it? And how many sprint races have there been this year?
3 races.
3 races. And do you know who's won these sprint races?
I know Verstappen's won 2 of them.
Oh, so he's won the 2?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That means that he's on for a hat-trick.
But having said that, Mr. Hamilton might just win the sprint race this year.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, wasn't he in the news for something else?
He is. He recently became an honorary citizen of Brazil.
Oh, wow. I wonder if he's had to change his passport or anything. No, he's probably just got a little piece of paper saying, I am a Brazilian, so I can support Brazil in the World Cup if England don't do well. Yeah. So... Okay, so that's really good. And in terms of who you think might win this weekend for the F1?
I definitely think Mercedes have got the car to beat Red Bull.
Really?
Because after Mexico, since America, they've just been literally on tail with them.
Really? So they're really close?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to look forward to... And the F1's on Sunday, is it?
Yes.
Wow, Sunday's a mega day of sport. Because the other thing about Sunday... It's going to be this weekend's also the last weekend for the Premiership games before the World Cup.
That's right.
So this is a weekend of a lot of sport. So maybe on Monday or Tuesday we'll do a little session here as a summary for all our listeners to bring them up to speed with what happened.
Indeed, we will.
Okay. So thank you very much for listening, and we will get back to you at the beginning of next week. And it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Stats.
Goodbye.
Bye.